Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back to All Chiefed Up. We're back with another podcast for that ass. And today we're going to be taking our stab at the Chiefs 53-man roster predictions. Steve, let's dive on in.
Hey, before we get the show started, I just want to say thanks to everybody that's watching. We know there's a lot of Chiefs content out there, so we appreciate you choosing to watch us. If you haven't subbed yet, hit that sub button. Hit the like to get this out to more Chiefs fans. Mike, let's get this thing rolling, baby. We've just been waiting to go ahead and get this 53-man roster. So what's our predictions going to be?
This is why we've been watching football. This is why we have preseason. This is why we went to camp. This is everything. This is every evaluation coming to a head. Let's do this. Here we go. We're going to jump right in with quarterback, and I think it's no surprise. We're going to go ahead and take three quarterbacks, Steve. We got Mahomes at the 1. We're going to go ahead and say Gabbert is the 2. Michelle is the 3. I think you have to take 3 here. I know the popular thing I'm seeing a lot is people's wanting to take 2. They're wanting to knock off Michelle or Gabbert, one of the 2. And I don't like that, because to use that new rule about bringing that guy up on game day, he has to be on the 53-man roster. There's no way around that. So I think they take 3 again. And I don't like the idea. I'm also seeing it shopped around today that the Chiefs are interested in Carson Wentz, and they don't like Gabbert or Michelle.
Mike,
where did that come from?
We talked about that months ago when Carson Wentz had just got cut or whatever.
We did.
And I just don't think it's a good fit. I think what we got's good, and of course they're going to keep Michelle on the 53-man roster. They did it last season. The season before that, they chose to put him on the practice squad, and Arizona tried to poach him, and they had to pull him up to the 53-man. So I think they saved themselves all that trouble. Just put him on the roster right now. It's not going to hurt anything.
So do you think Michelle is closer to Blaine Gabbert, or do you think he's closer to the number 4 quarterback that we did not put on the list, Oladokin? Do you think he's closer to the 2, or do you think he's closer to the 4?
I would say he's a little bit closer to the 2, but I understand why Blaine Gabbert is the backup quarterback. I understand why he will be QB2, and it's because he makes better decisions. Shane Buechele, he can play. We all saw it in that Arizona game. What was he, like 10 for 10? He just went off the chain. So he can play for sure, but then you see in the next game how he can be a loose cannon sometimes, and that's not what Andy Reid wants. If Patrick Mahomes were to miss time, he wants somebody in there that is just gonna play football, like basic, right the ship, do what you got to do, don't do anything to make us lose. Shane Buechele, like I said, a little bit of a loose cannon. He's got to get that out of the system, and then I think he'll make his way into a QB2 spot eventually.
Right, the play he had where Thornhill got the pick 6, I think that's what we're seeing.
It was a bad throw.
If he can eliminate that from his game, I think he does take the number 2 spot, but they paid Gabbert a little bit of money this year to come in. I think they're going to go ahead and stick with him. I don't know why everybody's acting like Andy and them do not like Gabbert or Michelle, and they would go out and grab, a Carson Wentz. I don't think Wentz would be bad in this offense. Don't get me wrong. I think Wentz would be fine. But what's the point bringing him in this late?
No, and Blaine Gabbert, though, I think he's like the perfect guy to be an Andy Reid QB2. Is he not? Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, he's probably a better option than Chad Henne. And I know I might get some pitchforks out for that one.
Oh, yeah.
But to be honest, Blaine Gabbert has a way bigger arm than Chad Henne ever had. And if Blaine Gabbert sees an opportunity, like he saw some of those passes to Amir smith-marsette in the preseason, he don't care to unload. So you got a guy that can right the ship, play a little conservative, but when the time arrives to where you have a chance to take a shot, Gabbert can throw that deep ball.
I'm with you. So that's going to wrap up quarterbacks. I think we're fine taking 3. I think most people that you watch on this is going to take 3. I think I've seen Charles Goldman take 2 possibly. I just don't see him doing that. I think you've got to take 3 to take advantage of that extra QB. So let's move it along to running back, Steve. This is where we started getting our first little bit of competition here throughout. We're going to go with Isaiah Pacheco at 1. We're going to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, to the dismay of all Chiefs Kingdom. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think, is going to be on this roster, Steve. Jerick McKinnon. And then we battled over Prince and P. Ryan. We eventually took P. Ryan, Steve. We took him, but there was a big battle going on. We was in your kitchen last night. We had a little bit of New York style pizza, baby. We got out the markers. We were signing posters.
Shout out Cole for buying us some pizza.
Shout out Cole. We were signing posters. We're going to send those out to everybody that won one. So you guys, you're getting that in the mail pretty soon. But yeah, we were talking about this, and we said, look, P. Ryan looked good during camp, but he's been in the league now for 3, maybe 4 years, I think. He's a little bit of a journeyman. He started a little bit in 2020 for the Jets, and he didn't really set the world on fire. But with the Chiefs, this just might be right situation at the right time for him. And we think his game mirrors more of the McKinnon third down back kind of row, and you've seen it when he caught that ball and scampered into the end zone. That was beautiful the other day. He's not really going to be the guy that's going to bust it up the middle a few times like Pacheco. I don't see that happening. And then you have Deneric Prince on the other side, Steve. Big upside. And everybody was writing him in Sharpie. We even said that. He was a 90% lock, and we were writing him in Sharpie. And then he just got outplayed. He flat got outplayed, and all that is youth and inexperience. And I think the Chiefs are going to go ahead and err on the side of try to put him on the practice squad. And this could backfire. The Chiefs may just be like, no, we can't do it. He'll get poached. So what do you think?
I'm not 100% on this one.
I'm not.
I could have flipped a coin and been completely happy with whatever it landed on. I think that Deneric Prince has so much upside that maybe LaMichael Pirine does not have. Like you said, they're two different kinds of running backs.
Right.
Deneric Prince, it's going to take him a little longer to get acclimated. I mean, he was a UDFA. This is his rookie season. LaMichael Pirine's got 3 years into the league. So, I mean, there's a difference.
The Chiefs know this. They knew this picking up a UDFA. They have to give him time.
That's what I'm saying.
The fact that they were just comfortable enough letting him play all those snaps with the first team when Pacheco had the yellow jersey on, the fact that, you've seen him stick with him, and Tobe has put him as the kick returner, and I just don't know if they're ready to give up on him. And if you put him on the practice squad or you try to sneak him on, he could get poached. Miami was trying to pick him up in the offseason. I don't know, man. It's tough.
Yeah, well, Deneric Prince, when he got his opportunities in the last preseason game, he looked great. He looked really good. He's also a good pass-catching back, even though he's a bigger guy. I just think there's a lot to it. And, sometimes in the past, when Andy Reid's played a guy a lot of snaps in the preseason, he's not always the one that prevails. So LaMichael Pirine getting more looks don't really mean anything. I don't think it does. But he did perform really well, and I think if you look at it objectively and you try not to think about age and potential and things like that, LaMichael Pirine outplayed Deneric Prince.
Yes.
But if the roles were reversed and Deneric Prince would have got all the opportunities that LaMichael Pirine got, I wonder if we'd be saying the other way around.
Right.
It's just a really tough one here, but we're going to lean with LaMichael Pirine. But if there's one wrong on this 53-man roster, this is one of them that I would expect.
Well, there's a few we kind of debated on. We'll talk about those when we got there, but this is definitely one of the big ones. Still not 100% sold on Pirine winning this spot. I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom are like, hey, Pirine over Clyde. Like we were saying, Pirine is more your Jarrett McKinnon back. I think Deneric Prince is more your Clyde guy, the guy that Andy feels comfortable to giving it, running on first and second down, a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. They want this guy stashed away. Can you get him on the practice squad? I don't know. If they don't think they can, they very well could go with Pirine cut, because Pirine may accidentally sneak through, if for no other reason, because he just don't fit everybody's offense the way he fits Andy Reid's. So they know. You know what I mean? Like, he's got all that film in the Jets, and nobody's knocking the door down to sign him. Right. And then all of a sudden, he's a world beater here in 2 or 3 preseason games. And again, these are preseason games, guys. Like, let's not overreaction it. I know it's Monday. Overreaction Monday. But
overreaction after the preseason game. That's the new one.
I know.
That's a new one for Chiefs Kingdom. I'm going to start watching this year to year. I'm going to keep a track on this. But right now, I'm a firm believer that these people get too horned up after a preseason game, Mike. I think somebody has one good preseason game against some 3s and 4s, and they act like that they're the greatest thing ever.
I will say, though, he stacked them. He stacked 2.
He did.
He stacked 2, and he wasn't the only guy. We'll get to that in a minute. But let's move on to tight ends, man. I think with tight ends, we're going to take not 4. I don't think there's a reason to take 4 now that Jody Fortune's not there. And the popular pick is everybody's putting Bushman on the roster over Blake Bell. Nene says all chiefed up. We're going to go with Kelsey, Noah Gray, who I think the Chiefs want to be the successor to Travis Kelsey, and I think they keep Blake Bell on for nothing more than he's the blocking guy. Not to mention, Blake Bell has hands. They will use him in certain passing situations, certain third down and shorts, fourth down and shorts.
Yeah, they've always done that with him.
Right, and I think he's going to beat Bushman out. I still think Bushman can sneak through to the practice squad. I still do. I don't think people's going to be knocking down the doors to poach him.
Not at all. And I actually like Bushman. I think he played pretty good. I think he's a good tight end.
Oh, honey hands.
I don't think he played good enough to be on this roster. I just don't. And he definitely did not play good enough to take Blake Bell off of the roster. Blake Bell's got all the experience. Blake Bell's smarter. He knows the offense better. He's a better blocker. I mean, that's all there is to it, man. I don't need to say any more here. I know that it's been a popular thing to say Matt Bushman's going to make the roster. And if they up and decide to take 4 tight ends, then yeah, he probably will, because he's the next one in line there, especially now with Jody out. But I just don't think they take 4. I don't see the need for 4, and he's not beating out Blake Bell.
Right. Bushman's definitely over Gathings and Kendall Blanton. So Bushman would be the 4th if they want to take it. I'm with you on the whole Bushman thing, though. He does a lot when it comes to pass catching. I get it. But Andy even made point just a week or two ago that he had to work on that blocking, and I don't know if he's done enough to help that spot, and I just don't see a reason to take 4. So right now we're sitting at 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and 3 tight ends. Let's go ahead and do offensive linemen, and then we'll jump into everybody's favorite to talk about wide receivers, and we're going to see what the Chiefs are going to do according to All Chiefed Up. So here we go. Let's jump into linemen. Our first 5 is obviously the starting. You got Creed, Joe Thuney, you've got Smith, Taylor, and Donovan Smith. So right off the bat, that's your top 5. We're actually going to take Wanye Morris. I mean, you're not drafting him in the 3rd round to get rid of him.
Right.
I think Kennard actually has helped his stock this year by actually kicking inside the guard, and I think he's looked good at it. If he made the team last year, why not put him on this year? Allegretti made it last year. I know he's dealing with a shoulder. If the shoulder's not a problem to where they don't have to put him on IR, and that could still be something, Steve. Allegretti could still get the IR designation. Who knows? So if you miss this, you miss it, but it's like, well, we can't predict medicals. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do it. But Allegretti made the team. Allegretti's been here. That's been one of the Veach's better late-round picks, to be honest. He's been solid, and they take him. And then the last spot, we're going to take Prince Tega. We're taking him over Lucas Niang. If you're a fan of the channel, if you watch the channel, we do not think Lucas Niang. We think the experiment should be done. He has not looked as good. I think Tega is the better swing tackle. I just seen a stat today that out of 80 snaps in the preseason with Lucas Niang and Tega has beat his man at like 20% higher rate. So I don't see why the Chiefs would take Prince Tega last year and then turn around and knock him out this year when it's just Niang, and Niang hasn't done anything, in my opinion, to knock him out of the spot.
You don't even have to dig into stats and like advanced things to figure this one out. Just go back and watch the tape over the preseason. Prince Tega Wanogho is better than Lucas Niang. That's just all there is to it. Prince actually looked good over at left tackle in this last game. He looked pretty dang solid. When Lucas Niang's in the game, he looks off balance. He looks like he's reaching. He gets beat a lot. He just does not look like a good NFL offensive lineman. He just does not. And I think it's over. I think the Lucas Niang experiment is over. And like you said, Allegretti, shoulder injury, all that stuff, they could throw him on IR, this or that, and put Caliendo in there for now, something like that. But, I mean, I just think they go with Allegretti. Darian Kennard's definitely going to make the squad. If he doesn't, that would be crazy, because I think that
that would be a flat-out travesty.
That would just be an absolute miss by these guys if they were to do something stupid like that.
But you're looking
at Joe Thuney getting this contract coming up. You're looking at Trey Smith's contract coming up. And then you're looking at Darian Kennard, who has slid inside the guard and has excelled at it. And we know that he could be good at it. Darian Kennard could be a good right tackle in the league given some time. So you damn well bet he can go to guard and be nasty just like Trey Smith.
Yeah, and the thing about it is we spent a lot of draft capital coming up to take Kennard last year. Why are you willing to give up on him this year when he's actually kicked inside and looks better? It doesn't make sense. He could be the successor to Trey Smith if they can't get something done with Trey Smith.
Or Joe Thuney even.
I like that. And just to be clear, I think if something happens and they got to cut Allegretti or they got to put him on IR, I think Caliendo's the next guy up.
I do too.
So we don't have him on the list, but if Allegretti goes to IR, we say Caliendo. We're saying Caliendo. Yeah. That's where we're going. Let's move on to wide receiver, Steve. This is what Chiefs Kingdom has probably been waiting for. We think they're taking 7. We've said it over and over. I think this is the year Andy's got to take 7. And we took 7. And you're going to find a name not on this list that Chiefs Kingdom has been straight horned up over. Amir smith-marsette, we just couldn't get him on the roster. The Chiefs are not taking 8. Taking 7 for Andy Reid is pulling teeth. Amir smith-marsette, Steve, he looked good. He looks like he should make a team, just not this
It's not going to be the Chiefs.
It just can't happen. And if they can get him on there, I'm excited to see how they're going to do it. And the only way I think you could is if you put Kadarius Toney on the IR to start the season, and maybe they do it that way. Again, it's got to be an IR play.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But why would you do that? If you think Kadarius Toney can be back in week 1 or at least say even week 2, just give him an extra week. I still don't see the point.
Andy alluded this week that Kadarius Toney could be practicing soon.
Right. Well, I just don't see the point to do this. And Amir Smith-Marsette, he's going to make a fine receiver for somebody, probably someone like Denver. And I know that makes you guys sick to think about.
Right.
But you're looking at a team that has a lot of wide receiver injuries, and this guy just went out and showed out in the preseason. So people have their eyes on it. I think he might have played for the Bears before, but they are looking for guys like him. There are teams out there that want a guy that can play like Amir Smith-Marsette, and he also offers you special teams abilities. So, yeah, I think he played well enough in the preseason to make an NFL squad, just not the Chiefs. There's too much depth already.
Right.
Mike, pop that graphic back up. We got Kadarius Toney at WR1. If he's healthy, I think that's what they planned on doing. They've even said it, Mike. Back when everybody was talking about getting D-Hop, they said, hey, we already got our wide receiver one with Kadarius Toney. MVS could make a claim for being wide receiver 1. I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom don't really care for Valdez-Scantling.
Right.
They think he's overpaid and he doesn't do a whole lot. I think this is going to be a good season for Valdez-Scantling, man. I think him and Mahomes have had time to get a little more comfortable with each other, get on the same page, and there was a lot of missed opportunities last season. A lot.
I agree.
And I think maybe they can connect on some of those. So I'm excited about that. And I'll go ahead and run this down real quick, Mike, and you can give your thoughts. But Sky Moore, I've said it a million times, I think he's going to have a breakout season this year. You're going to see what he's all about. Him and the next guy down, Rashee Rice, are going to be taking over a lot of that Juju Smith-Schuster role. And I think Sky Moore and Rashee Rice are both incredible yak guys. So that's going to be awesome for them. And then, of course, there's Richie James, who I think has been excellent so far in training camp. What you did get to see of him in the preseason, he's just good. I think he fits into this offense seamlessly, and we know that Brett Veach had his eye on this guy since Richie James got drafted. So, I mean, this is somebody they've wanted. And then, of course, you got your constant, Justyn Watson. That's just somebody they can be confident will go out there and do their job and do it right. He's nothing special. We get it. He's a little bit mid, but guess what? They like him, and he will get the job done. And then, of course, you have the loved, the freaking hyped up Justyn Ross, and you have to put him on the squad because, Mike, you invested all this time in him, all the rehabilitation, and then he goes out there in training camp in preseason and shows you why they did just that.
He's looked good.
He is a beast. He can be what everybody thinks he can
good.
be.
So, looking at that, I don't think anybody could argue with anything on there. But what we're going to hear is Justyn Watson should not be on the team and Amir Smith-Marsette should be on the team. Now,
I disagree.
Well, there's a big disagreement here because they do not play the same position. Justyn Watson is not a slot receiver, and that's where Amir Smith-Marsette is battling for. Amir Smith-Marsette is battling with guys like Sky Moore. He's battling with Richie James. Probably battling a little bit with Rashee Rice, who's going to play some slot. He's not beating those guys out. Are you guys willing to give up Sky Moore and Richie James for? And again, back to Amir Smith-Marsette. As you mentioned, he was drafted in 2021 by the Vikings, and he only started one game and had 6 targets. He had 5 receptions, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Then the next season, he goes to Chicago, and he had 1 catch for 15 yards. And then he actually come to the Chiefs, and he played in 2 games last year where the Chiefs didn't even get on the field. He had 0 targets.
Right.
So all these teams can't seem to get him in. So, yes, he looked like a world beater this year, and maybe this is his breakout year, and maybe he's going to get there. And I like the guy. I just think it's not – okay, look, it's just not fair sometimes. Life's not fair. He's with a team that is super deep, and he just can't make the roster. There's no way to get him on, and it's nothing against him, but I just don't see how they can get him on. If they can, I'm excited to see how they do it, but I don't think they can. Will he clear waivers? No, I don't think so.
I will say this. He is not better than any of the 7 wide receivers we listed. It's just a fact. Like, you can say that he showed out in the preseason and he's a good receiver, but he is not even close to anyone on that list except for maybe Justyn Watson, and I'm saying maybe. I think Justyn Watson's probably, like, honestly, he's probably faster at top end. He's a bigger target. He's more reliable. He's going to catch the ball more often. He knows the offense better. It just is what it is.
Yeah. We wanted to get him on. I know Chiefs Kingdom wants some of this. They all wanted Clyde to be out. And, they wanted Perine and Prince. They want Amir Smith-Marsette on it. They don't want Justyn Watson. We understand that. But if me and Steve were playing GM today, that's not happening. And if those two things happen, I will be surprised. I would probably pass out. But that's going to wrap up the offensive side, Steve. We ended up taking, I want to say, was it 26?
Yeah.
Offense, or was it 24? I'm not
26.
For sure. Okay, so it's 26 offense. So let's move on to defense. But first, let's go ahead and just bring up special teams. Let's have a nice little special teams in the mid.
Intermission.
Butker, Townsend, Winchester. If anybody gets these three wrong, I'm going to just take away your fan card because there's no competition at any of these positions.
Well, Justin Reed can kick just as good as Harrison Butker. Didn't you know that?
I'm surprised people are not saying that. But that's
also
be
Tommy
three
Townsend
more.
Can't hold the ball right.
You're right. Maybe Winchester should do it.
Hey,
Maybe the
like I
backup
guarantee you, there's someone out there in Chiefs Kingdom that does not have those three on the squad. They come up with something. They'll come up with
there
something.
There can't be. If there is, I swear.
Look, if they would just let Butker go and let Reed do the kicking as well as play safety, they could open up a spot for Amir Smith-Marsette.
I'm with you. Well, let's start it. Let's start with defensive tackles, Steve. Do you want to start there? I think Chris Jones is the big elephant in the room. And here we go. Let's kick in with defensive tackles. We have Chris Jones making the roster, but it's a very good possibility. We're going to talk about this a little bit later after we give our 53-man. But there's a big possibility that Jones may not get nothing worked out, and the Chiefs could put him on a list where he did not report. So if that happens, he does not have to be counted to the 53-man, and we said if that happens, they will take Danny Shelton. Other than that, we're taking 4 defensive tackles, and that is Jones, Turk Wharton, Derek Noddy, and Coburn. A lot of people say Noddy could get cut for Shelton. That's a possibility. I just don't see the Chiefs doing it. I think this is the 4 they roll with, and again, if Jones goes on the did not report list and they can't get nothing worked out, there's no point in keeping him on the 53-man roster if he's not there, so you're not going to play with 52. He's going to get put on the list, and I think that gives Shelton a spot. If they can't do that, Steve, I don't see how they get Shelton on the roster. I don't unless they take 5 and 5, but I'm just not there. I think Shelton's fine, but
there are ways for them to switch it around to do that, but I don't think it's necessary.
Right.
I think that Danny Shelton doesn't really do anything differently than Derek Noddy's going to do for the team. And the thing about the reason why that we chose Derek Noddy as opposed to Shelton is because the Chiefs don't like to really rock the boat a whole lot. If you notice, they will try to keep the same guys constant. Yeah. Derek Noddy's one of those guys. This is the same reason why we have Justyn Watson on the receiver list, because they just don't want to rock the boat. These guys are good. They're serviceable. They do what they're asked to do. So they're going to be there.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that's where we're at with defensive tackles. Let's move on to defensive ends. I don't think there's much more to talk about with defensive tackle. We know they're taking Wharton. He's back from injury. Now, if they was to put him on IR, again, I don't know why they would do that. They've not alluded to it, but that's where Shelton would come on. If Jones goes to a do not report and Turk goes to IR, well, then we're going to be talking about who else do we bring in, because at that point, I still don't put Danny Wise on the team. I don't think he did enough to make the team.
No, he had a couple of decent plays, but then again, look at the competition level when he made those plays. Don't think Danny Wise is making the squad.
Right. Defensive end. Let's go here. We have, first and foremost, Amenahue will not count to the 53-man. He goes on the injured, suspended list. That's where he's at. He don't count to the 53. So we have George Karlaftis at 1. We're going to take the first-round pick, and Udike Uzoma at 2. Mike Dana, the trusty guy, at number 3. And then we're going to go ahead and take Josh Kando and Malik Herring plus a 6. We're going to have to put B.J. Thompson on. Now, the reason we've done this, Steve, and I know a lot of people saying, you guys said that this was their last year's here. They don't like to rock the boat. Truman Jones didn't outplay any of these guys at camp. They didn't sign a big veteran. And I think Malik Herring can kick down enough to play that extra defensive tackle spot if needed to. Spags does that a lot. We decided to put Kando on. Kando was a 4th-round pick. He's very athletic. He looked a lot better than he has so far in the preseason. He's looked pretty good. He's one of the only guys to even get a sack from the defensive line. And we're going to go ahead and take them both. Now, we did kind of battle over this. In my initial, I had Herring on and Kando off. Steve had Kando on, Herring off. And then we just kind of said, well, let's merge the two. Let's take both because Omenihu's out. And let's see what happens. And that's what we come up with. I would rather have 6 defensive ends and 4 defensive tackles rather than 5 and 5, if it's me. I don't think Shelton offers you more than Kando or Herring.
The way that Spags does the defensive line with moving these guys inside and out, it's not really necessary to have more people on the team than, say, Derek Nottie to be your run stuffer, right? Like, that's why he's
Colburn's
there.
going to do it too.
Colburn's going to do it too, yeah. Correct. But just to go back to what you said, we did say that we thought it could be the last year for Kando or Malik Herring because they just haven't been able to get over that hump, right? We talked about that. But when we were talking about that, Mike, we were still under the assumption that the Chiefs might go out and try to get a vet defensive end because that's what they've been doing for so long now, starting back with Terrell Suggs and then Melvin Ingram and then Carlos Dunlap. We thought they might do that again. They did not. And then we weren't expecting Charles Omenihu to get suspended for 6 games.
I was just going to say that.
If you said Carlos Dunlap would have came back, they would have signed him for one more 1-year deal. And then Omenihu would have had to be on the 53-man roster. Those 2 are gone because I think BJ, I think he's got too much potential, and they obviously liked it enough to trade up and grab him in the 5th round.
I don't think he survives if you try to put him on the practice squad.
I think he's kind of like that new wave defensive end that Spags is going with now. If you look at Felix and you look at him and you even look at Joshua Kando, I mean, Kando is a little bit bigger, longer, like more of a bookend type guy if you wanted him to be, I guess. But that's not what Felix and BJ are. They're just super athletic. They're bendy. They're fast.
And when they drafted Josh Kando, he was a project. They know it.
Yeah.
But he had an RAS score that was out of control.
Almost a 10 of 10. It was like a 9.74 or something like that.
And look, he's only played for 3 years. This will be his 4th. I could be wrong. This could be his 3rd, but I think it's his
Mike,
4th.
You know, I actually mentioned the sack that you were talking about.
Yeah.
The sack you were talking about. I actually told you last night. I was like, dude, when Kando got back there and got that sack, just the way that he looked in that one play, as fast as he was, as big as he was, and as athletic as he was, I don't understand why we don't see it more. Like, I don't know what the disconnect is of why Kando hasn't been able to get more playing time and actually make a splash, but I feel like he's got it. It's just got to come out.
And maybe the Chiefs see that, and they're going to give him one more chance. And look, I think that him and Herring, again, that was a coin toss, and they're being rescued by Omenihu's ignorant actions off the field. You've got an extra chance. This is like 3 strikes and you're out, but you got to you foul tipped it. Let's go out and get a base hit here. Come on, hit a home run, by the way. Go out and look good, guys. Like, we're rooting for you,
Pull
Kando.
a Bobby
Like,
Witt
let's go.
Jr.
Let's go.
When you're down and out, in the full count, 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, you smack a grand slam.
Smack it.
And then you twirl your mullet a little bit and you jog the bases. Just do it, Kando.
Yeah, you do. Let's move on to linebackers, and this is where this was another big one. The Chiefs took 4 linebackers last year, Steve. They took Willie Gay, they took Leo the rookie, they took Nick Bolton, and they took Harris. Well, look, they replaced Harris this year with Tranquil, and Tranquil's way better. And they still only felt the need to take 4. So we're only taking 4. I know that I said I thought they were going to take 5 this year, and I said that Cam Jones, Isaiah Moore had a chance, Buddy Johnson to look good. There was a lot of linebackers. But I'm going to tell you right now, Cochran does play a lot of special teams, and that could be a reason that Cochran could slide in and them take that 5th. But I just don't see the reasoning to do that. Because we've already talked about this. If Cochran comes on at 5, Kando or Herring, one of them's out. And I would rather have the potential of Josh Kando than Jack Cochran. Like, I'm sorry, just a guy that's going to play special teams.
I just don't think it's needed. Like you said, I don't think that 5th linebacker is needed. A lot of people want to see it, and a lot of people think they're going to see it. And like you said, they could go with 5 and take Jack Cochran. I wouldn't be mad at it. I think actually when me and Mike first started this project, I had 5 linebackers with Jack Cochran on there.
Right.
And I think where we kind of got together and, you know, give a little, take a little, right? I think what happened was I took Jack Cochran off so Malik Herring could make the list as well. Right. I think that's exactly what we did, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm with you, Mike. I'd rather see the extra defensive ends. And I just don't see the need for the fifth linebacker. I don't. If Jack Cochran's going to go to the practice squad, highly doubt someone's going to take him, while he's – I just don't see it. Either way, if we need him later, call him up.
Right. And, well, that's the thing. If you put him and you put Cam Jones,
Cam
if
Jones
one of them gets
too.
poached, they'll roll with the other. I mean, I firmly believe that. I don't believe you have to protect Cochran by putting him on the squad. And I just don't. I would rather let Josh Kando continue to develop and just take a shot there while we have Omenihu off.
Right.
Like, maybe when Omenihu comes back and Kando hasn't progressed, then go ahead and knock Kando back off the team.
Kando's rookie contract, I think, is up after this season. If it's not,
Right.
it's next year. So, I mean, if he don't do it this year, man, just let him walk.
I hear you, man. So we're taking 4. We're taking Bolton Gay. We're taking Leo. And we're going to take Drew Tranquil. Let's move on to corners. Corners, we got 2 more spots here. Corners and safeties. Corners, they took 6 last year. We think they're going to take 6 again. We've got L'Jarius Sneed. We got Trent McDuffie, the warden. We've got Jalen Watson. We've got Josh Williams. And then the last 2 slots, Steve, me and you were talking over this. We're going to go ahead and take Khalif Hallisey. I believe Khalif has played himself onto this team. I think it was between him and Echo Boydo, and Echo Boydo's not looked bad. I think Charles Goldman's got him on his roster. I just do not think the size of Echo Boydo fits what Spags wants to do, as well as the size and athletic ability of a Khalif Hallisey. Hallisey's had more splash plays. He will step up in the box and he will hit you. He looks good. I don't see how you cut him off this squad because he will not clear waivers. I do not see that happening. And then at the last spot, we're going to go ahead and take Nick Jones, 7th-round pick. Now, look, again, Nick Jones or Hallisey could be cut. It's a very good possibility. It is a very Chiefs thing, and we debated this last night, that the Chiefs, like they're creatures of habit, it's very well that they could take either one of them and kick them off for none other than Boodle. That's a real possibility, in my opinion. They could do something crazy like that because Boodle is he got the interception against the Browns. He's a veteran. He's one of the first ones out there during the practice, during all the camp. He's a special teams guy. That just seems like a Chiefs thing to do. If you told me at the end of the day Boodle made that roster and they cut off Khalif Hallisey, I'd be like, I hate it, but that sounds something like stupid they'd pull. Does it not?
I just don't understand how they could do something
just to
that
spite
dumb.
us. That's what they would do.
Like, if they do, it's dumb.
Right.
I've said this a million times. Like, whatever Andy Reid ultimately decides to go with, I'm sure Spags has his say in it. Matt Nagy has his say in it. Everybody's got their say in it. But whatever they decide to go with, I have faith in these guys. Like,
right.
I think Spags is the best defensive coordinator in football. You can argue with me about it, and there's a lot of Chiefs Kingdom that don't care for him, but he just is. I mean, this guy's won 3 Super Bowls. Give him his props. He does all kinds of stuff, man. But yeah, I think you have to trust what they go with. I've said this. I'll be happy with whatever.
Right.
I trust that they'll make the right decisions. But if they take DiCaprio Boodle over a guy that's looked the way Hallisey has in the preseason and in camp.
So what if they take him over Nick Jones? Because Nick Jones has got the hand injury, and that's a possible IR.
I wouldn't be as mad at that. And the reason why is I'm not knocking Nick Jones either. I think Nick Jones has just as much ability as Khalif Hallisey. I think they're kind of on the same level there. But I think that Khalif Hallisey did more for him to make this squad than those other guys by far.
Well, I don't see how
Echo Boydo played well too, but he still wasn't on the Hallisey level.
Right. I don't see how you can look at this team and say P. Ryan deserved it. He played his way on. Smith-Marsette did it, and you can't say the same thing about Khalif Hallisey. He did it. Like, he was that guy on the defense.
And not only did he do it, it's just his physical traits, his athleticism. And I tell you, the main thing,
he's a poor man's Sauce Gardner.
About Khalif Hallisey, man, he tackles.
Yes.
He tackles. He's so solid. He don't miss tackles, and he hits people, and he makes them pay.
What if he's the next L'Jarius Sneed?
Yeah.
He kind of, he's got the qualities. But, yeah, that's it. Again, if Nick Jones, we took Nick Jones, a 7th-round pick. I think Nick Jones could clear waivers. If they decided to drop him, cool.
Well,
I think
Boodle can clear waivers. So
yeah, I would think Boodle clears waivers too. But if Nick Jones has to go to IR, if you see that tomorrow, because again, we're not getting all this behind the scenes kind of stuff. If Nick Jones, maybe something happens at hand, it's not healing, he's got to go, to IR, they got to give surgery to it. Cool. I could see them bringing up Boodle. It's going to be Boodle or Boydo, and honestly, I think they would take Boodle over Boydo. Now, I could be wrong, but I think they would for special teams alone because I don't think anybody's poaching Boydo off the practice squad either. I think he would clear waivers. I think all these guys would clear waivers but Khalif Hallisey. As weird as that sounds.
I would agree with it.
Okay.
I think you're right on that.
Well, let's move to safety. And again, corner, that was one of the ones me and you were a little bit, worried about here and there, but that's what we chose to roll with. We'll roll with it. Safety is up. We're taking 4. We're taking Reed, that Steve spelled wrong. We're taking Cook. We're taking Edwards, and we're going to take Chamari Connor. Steve was doing these graphics at 3 a.m. That's probably autocorrect, probably.
More than likely.
Reed, Cook, Edwards, and Chamari Connor. Steve, the one guy not on the list is Deion Bush. Look, I like Deion Bush. I think Deion Bush is a fine special teamer. I think he does well when he's in the game. But just like Amir Smith-Marsette and everybody else, how do you do it? Again, you could do it if you take Chamari and maybe slide him to that 6th spot of the corner position because Chamari's interchangeable. But he's not listed like that. He's listed as a safety. We're going to do it like this, and we're taking 4. And that's the 4, Steve. I mean, you agree with it. You helped me put it together.
There's not much to say about it. When me and Mike did this, like I made out my 53-man roster, he made out his, and then we conversated over the discrepancies, right? And then we come to agreement on what to do. Most of it, I would say 95% of it, we were dead bang on with each other.
There were a certain position we listed them in the exact same order. It was really strange, like we're brothers or something.
Yeah,
it was so strange.
Weird. But just a couple that we've talked about that we didn't. Like the Malik Herring and Jack Cochran thing. Like
right, you initially
like
had Jack Cochran on.
Right, and then if you go back to the corners, I initially had Khalif Hallisey and Echo Boydo and was having Nick Jones go to the practice squad. But Mike felt differently, talked about it. We decided to roll with Jones. So, yeah, it's kind of cool just to collaborate together and come up with this. And I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty confident about it.
Well, again, this is how we would do it if we were GMs. Like, look, you can predict, and we can do anything we want to do and say what we want to say and this and that. Brett Veach and Andy Reid, they have more access to all these guys. They know their diet. I mean, come on. They know everything. Like, they're going to make a more informed
Wheaties
decision.
Instead of Fruit Loops.
Right. Maybe Maybe they like Boodle because he has a good diet. I don't know.
Mother. What?
Yeah, you weedy eating mother. What are you doing? But yeah, I mean, that's just it. This is what we would do if we were in charge. That's our prediction. It necessarily is it going to hit? I don't know. Steve mentioned that he felt really good about this one. Steve, did you really feel that good about this? Because I think at the end of the day, it kind of, there was a few positions that give us some fits. Because I don't think we're still sold on Prince P. Ryan.
I'm not.
I don't think. I think we're fine with the. I'm perfectly fine with the offensive line, but there's a way Lucas Niang could beat out Prince. I mean, if you're blind.
Well, here's my thing, man. I am confident in this. Like, I honestly think objectively when I look at it, and I went back over it after me and you talked about it, and we collaborated a little bit.
Yeah.
I looked at it, and this is the best possible scenario as far as my knowledge of football goes and the eye test with these games and camp and everything else. I feel 100% solid about it. I think I'd feel this much more confident about it if we would have went with Deneric Prince than LaMichael P. Ryan. Because I'm not sold on it. I'm not sold on it like the rest of Chiefs Kingdom. But at the end of the day, we talked about it, Mike, and LaMichael P. Ryan kind of earned it, sort of.
Right. I think he was
Right.
he was like Amir Smith-Marsette. And I think where Amir Smith-Marsette's problem was is they're not taking 8. And I just don't see where you knocked anybody off.
The receivers, like even if Nico was in there, and I think Nico's a better receiver than Amir Smith-Marsette. And y'all can yell at me about that.
I like Nico.
But Nico wasn't going to make the squad either. They're going to have to take 7 for the first time ever, and they're already set. They're already set. There was nothing that these receivers could do about it. And granted, they could come out tomorrow and say, hey, you know what? We're taking Amir Smith-Marsette.
Right, they could say
that could happen. But in my mind, man, they already had it set on those 7 guys, and you have to take them.
Well, Veach said it. on TV. He said that Justyn Ross was his 7th. They expect big things. I mean, he didn't say he was 7th, but that's what he said. But yeah, the whole Perine thing, he earned a spot. Like, Perine really did well. PP on the PP earned his way on the roster. And look, people want to rage, and I get it. If you don't like Clyde, you don't like this, you think he should be traded, cool. Like, we're with you. Like, we're not just fighting for Clyde to stay here. Again, we just know Andy's going to use him, and we don't think he's getting cut. And I don't really think that there's any trade value there, to be honest. But Perine earned it, and you're not knocking off Clyde. You're not knocking off Pacheco or McKinnon. Prince was the only one he could knock out, and I felt like head-to-head, he kind of nudged him, and I think it was only fair to give it to him. But I'm with you. Prince could very well be on here. I think it's whoever they think could clear waivers, and it's the direction they want to go.
Well, my reasoning, Mike, we kind of talked about this already. It's just that LaMichael Perine's 3 seasons in, and Deneric Prince is a UDFA. They know he's a project, but they love his potential. Right. They've been excited about his potential. And something we didn't mention earlier was Dave Toub was going to use him as a kick returner. And I kind of feel like he's going to make that 4th roster spot just to be the kick returner and the 4th running back. I could be wrong. And like I said, I think I'd feel a little bit more confident if we went Prince over Perine. But we talked about it, and I think he played too well. I almost feel like it'd be a disservice to LaMichael Perine if he didn't make the roster the way he played.
Right. But again, we do think he could probably clear waivers. If you go back to 2020, he played with the Jets. He played in 10 games. He had 64 attempts, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns. He only averaged 3.6 yards a carry. That was it. His receiving numbers, not that great either. He had 11 receptions for 63 yards, 0 touchdowns. He averaged, I want to say it was like 6.3 yards an attempt or whatever. In 2021, he only played in 4 games. He had 8 rushes for 31 yards, no touchdowns. So he's had his opportunities. Again, I think he just fits the Chiefs better. And I think that's why he looks good. Because even Jerick McKinnon wasn't a world beater when he played with Minnesota and San Francisco. He was kind of a bust. But yeah, I think we'll do it this way. But I'll tell you, if Prince makes the roster, I'm not surprised. I think that's the biggest flip. I think me and Steve could talk about that in circles all night, all day for the next week and a half.
I couldn't even convince myself of one or the other.
Right.
Like I said, I feel a little bit more comfortable with Prince than the Perine. But at the same time,
at the end of the day,
I don't feel bad about Perine. I don't feel bad about the PP on the PP.
At the end of the day, if you think there's one guy we left off this roster that could be on it and one guy we put on that could go, or a surprise cut here and there, something, give me a surprise that you think we could see, in your opinion. Besides Prince over Perine, obviously.
That's the only one.
So you don't see Amir Smith-Marsette at all? You're just 0% on him?
I think there's 0% chance that Amir Smith-Marsette can crack into those 7 wide receivers. I think it was already set. The only way he could is if they decide to put Kadarius Toney on the IR.
Right.
Other than that, he's toast in Kansas City. He will go play for somebody else, though, because he played well.
I would say I think Jack Cochran can make the roster, and you might knock off Kando or Harry. One of those two. I also believe, and I'm going to say this, I think Prince Tega is better than Lucas Niang, but they could still pick Niang. They do weird things, okay? The Chiefs are just known to do some kind of strange stuff. And again, that's going to lead me to this last one. If Nick Jones or Khalif Housey don't make this team and Buddha was to be on at the end of the day tomorrow, I would be so upset. But that just seems like a random Chiefs move.
Like I said, if Boodle or Echo Boy Doe were to beat out Nick Jones, I won't bat an eyelash at it other than to laugh that Boodle made the squad.
Right.
But if Khalif Housey doesn't make this team, I think it's a poor decision.
I think that's criminal. That boy earned it, man. Like Khalif Housey, come out of Western Kentucky, right up the road from us, Steve. He grew up 1 hour from us. And, I mean, he transferred in from Oregon, actually. But still, he played at Western. He earned himself on this team. And we were big on him from the beginning. And I think that's pretty cool, man, because a lot of people were not on.
I've been vouching for this guy for a while.
Again, not the toot or anything like that, but All Chiefed Up has been on Khalif Housey forever. And if you've been with us, you've known that. And you guys can know, you guys can vouch, and we appreciate you guys for watching and stuff. Let's go ahead and jump in now that we're done with that. Let's jump into a little bit of Chris Jones talking. I know this is not what everybody's favorite cup of tea is, so we're only going to run it for a few minutes, and we're just going to talk about it. So it was reported that Chris Jones was in Kansas City with his agents. They all ate at Joe's Barbecue. This was on Saturday while the Chiefs were playing. If you can see the graphic, somebody got a picture, sent it to their husband, whoever. They said he was driving around town. That's Chris Jones. That was Saturday, Steve. Well, come to find out, Chiefs Wire throws up a report. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler gives a grim update on Chiefs negotiations with Chris Jones. So I clicked that and I said, what did Jeremy Fowler say? Come on, he was just there Saturday. So this is where it gets a little weird. Jeremy Fowler reports an update between Jones and the team while appearing on SportsCenter on Sunday. So presumably Saturday night into Sunday, he's got some information from a source. And that gave me a little bit of a pause because I was like, okay, that means something happened Saturday.
The timing was too good, right?
Right, and maybe he's got a little bit of an insight. What is the news? So here it is. He says, I talked to somebody with the team, he didn't say who said it feels like this is going to drag on even longer. Maybe even into the season, says Fowler. The Chiefs certainly do not want that, but neither side appears ready to move on contract talks. Steve, he was there Saturday with his agents. They were having barbecue. And then this report comes out from an inside source in the Chiefs organization. Jeremy Fowler is not just random guy. Like, this guy's known. He's probably got a source, and they're saying that they look further than we think. This is bad news for Chiefs Kingdom. And look, it's only going to add more fuel to the fire of the Chris Jones haters. Fire him. He's a traitor. I've heard it all. You can believe what you want. That's another story. We're just talking about Chris Jones right now, what he means to this team. This guy needs to be here. It makes a huge difference on this team, Steve. Why would Chris Jones want to do this, A, and B, I'll let you talk about this as well. What are they squabbling over at this point? Can we just have some kind of clarity on what Chris Jones camp's wanting and what the Chiefs are offering? Like, can we just have that? Because I feel like they're not telling us that for a reason.
Who knows? Who freaking knows? You see all this fake stuff out there. You'll get a lot of Chiefs Kingdom leaving comments and stuff, even on our videos, Mike, that says, well, he was offered $28 million and he didn't take it. That's BS. There's no factual evidence of that whatsoever.
Never been
proven. I don't
proven.
know where you heard it, where you read it, or if you made it up. But that is not true as far as anyone knows. The thing about it is, Mike, if you watch this last preseason game, or even the one before that, or the one before that, and you can honestly sit there and say that you don't think Chris Jones matters to this defense, that you can trade him for a first-round pick or whatever you can get, you are a freaking slapnuts, and you should not ever comment on football again.
And by the way, if you trade him for picks, fine and dandy, but how does that help you this year? We're in the middle of a Patrick Mahomes dynasty, but it does not help you right now.
Man, when you got a generational type player, a one-of-a-kind guy, it don't matter how many freaking draft picks you get, you're not replacing him.
So are they arguing over Chris Jones wants 30? The Chiefs are offering 23.
I've said it a million times.
Does Chris Jones want 29?
I think where we're at here is it's a guaranteed money thing. That's what I think it is. I think it has to be. Because I think, honestly, if the Chiefs really offered Chris Jones $28 million a year and it was a solid contract, it wasn't BS, like a BS Brett Veach contract where he backloads everything and then tries to cut a guy off, Chris Jones would have took it. Yeah. He would have took that contract. I guarantee you he would have took that contract.
So it's guaranteed money. So what I'd like to know is, what's Chris Jones wanting? Is he wanting $75 million, $80 million guaranteed over 4 years?
I think it just depends.
And is the Chiefs maybe saying, look, we'll give you 60, 65, and they're just not being able to find common ground because the Chiefs won't go up to the 70s or something?
Like I said, I think it's down to guaranteed money. And if you look at it this way, say Brett Veach tried one of his BS deals where there's always some fake years and some funny money in there because that's what he does.
There's a couple bags of Cheetos.
Some people fall for it, some people don't. But I don't think Chris Jones and crew's going to go for it. But say he offered him 4 years, $25 million, $25 million, $35 million, $35 million, but there's an out after 2 years. Well, guess what? Chris Jones is going to want more than $50 million guaranteed. Because if he thinks Brett Veach can cut him off after he makes $50 million,
and then him not be able to sign for a big contract again,
he's not going to do it.
Right.
So what I'm saying is if they come up with a contract like that, Chris Jones is going to want at least $75 million guaranteed. At least. So, I mean, that's just where we're at here, and I think that's where they're at, trying to get on the same page.
Dude.
I don't think they're necessarily really far off. I actually think they're closer to having an extension done than not, to be honest. Because like I said before, Mike, on our live streams, The public posturing phase is usually the last phase before something gets done. And we're well into that. And the season's getting ready to start. I think we got, what is it, September 7th? So I think there's time for this to get done. I think it does get done. He'll be there week 1. I don't see him holding out. It does Chris Jones no good in negotiations to not show up for week 1. It just loses him money, loses him credibility, makes him look bad, makes the fans hate him. I don't understand why he would even do that. I think something's going to get done, man. I think it's guaranteed money, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it is too. I think Chris Jones is worth more than even the fans want to say he's worth. I just really do. And because, again, maybe long term you can solve this, but if the Chiefs weren't looking to solve this right now and give him that extension, you would have done something before the draft. You would have drafted somebody. And again, they tried to trade up for Mozzie Smith. I'm not buying that. They're not even the same type of player. Mozzie Smith is a Derek Nottie guy. Like, if that was true, maybe they were trying to pair him. Because they signed Nottie to the 1 year, so maybe they wanted Mozzie there.
I want to bring up something that you've said before. And you said this a long time ago, back when we were first talking about this, but it still holds true right now. Say they didn't want to pay Chris Jones $28 million, they wanted to pay him $26 over 4 years. That's $8 million. Is $8 million worth pulling one of the 4 pillars of your dynasty off the team during Patrick Mahomes' prime, during your dynasty and all that, all for $8 million?
Right.
Hell no.
Even if it's guaranteed money. And they're
figure it out.
Right.
Get
if they're
it done.
60 and 75, that's $15 million. Let's come to the middle. That $8 million that you're giving up on one side or the other.
Unless Chris Jones is being completely unreasonable and wanting as much money as Aaron Donald, get it done. You have to.
Yep, I think you have to. But with that, man, that's going to wrap it up. We hope you guys like the 53-man. We're gonna spare you. We're not doing any more Chris Jones talk today.
And let us know what we screwed up on, what you think's going to happen, what you like about it. Do that for us.
Yeah, do that for us. If you're listening on the podcast, because this is available everywhere. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, go ahead and give us the 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate that as well. Go ahead and get in the comments. Hit that thumbs up. Give us that big old like. That goes a long way in the algorithm. Hit that sub button. Click that bell. And we appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time.
Go Chiefs.
Aside from my soul.